Hello. Okay. Good morning. So, today I am going to be talking about the courage to fail. And I'm putting failure in quotation marks because I'm going to talk about the idea that failure is simply a thought that we have. It is not the truth, even though we have been led to believe that it's the truth. Um, you may have seen the question, what would you do if you weren't afraid to fail? And I like to think about it in a slightly different way. The question that I ask myself is, what do you believe in so deeply that you are willing to fail over and over again until you figure it out? Because when we truly believe in something and ourselves, we're willing to do the work to get to where we want to be, and that work inevitably involves failure. Failure is pretty much guaranteed if you are putting yourself out in the world and truly um, working towards your dreams. You are going to fail. It's not a question of if, it's a question of when. And so the sooner you can get comfortable with that idea, the sooner you can create the result that you are looking to create. So, failure is a loaded word because our society has made it into this big, heavy thing. So, most of us have a fear of failure, and that keeps us from doing what we want to do. We're afraid that if we try something and we fail, we're going to look stupid, we're going to fall on our faces. We worry about what people think. Um, Failure is something that we have turned into this humiliating and heartbreaking thing, and that it's like a mark on our soul or a reflection on who we are as people. And we give it all of this meaning. We make it mean things like, I'm not good enough, nobody loves me, I can't do this, what was I thinking, this is never going to work, who am I to think that I can get this done? And so we have those thoughts, and those create a lot of negative feelings. They can create feelings of shame, embarrassment, loneliness, fear, um, just not being good enough. And we don't want to feel those feelings, so we avoid the possibility of failing as much as we possibly can. And we tell ourselves things like, oh, it's not worth the risk. I don't want to put myself out there. It's too much exposure. I could never be that vulnerable. And so when we avoid the opportunities that could allow us to fail, we do avoid failure. That's true. We do keep ourselves safe. But the flip side of that is we also avoid the possibility for success, and we avoid the opportunity to learn from our mistakes and to grow and to figure things out. And with that struggle and then the success that comes with it, we also miss out on that feeling of pride and confidence that we can figure it out, that we can get it done. So we deprive ourselves of all of those experiences because we're afraid to feel the feelings that we think have to come with failure. And part of the reason that those feelings come with failure is because of the way we look at it. We look at it as this negative thing, we look at it as a fact instead of an opportunity for growth and change. And so we just keep ourselves stuck and we deprive ourselves of a lot of the experiences that we really are kind of dreaming of, but are afraid that we can't create in our lives because we're afraid that the risk is just too great. So, again, I want to offer this idea that failure is just a thought. It is, I want you to imagine a situation that you might label as failure. So, let's say, for example, someone has a business and the business goes bankrupt. That is the fact. The business goes bankrupt. It can't pay its bills, closes its doors. It's closed. It's done. So some people would look at that situation and think that's a failure. Whoever the business owner is failed in his or her mission or objective to create this viable business, and so that is a failure. End of story. Somebody else might look at it and say, okay, so that person had this idea for whatever the business was to make widgets, but the idea was a good one, but the way that they went about doing it was flawed. They were making them somewhere that was too expensive. They weren't charging enough. They, were paying their labor too much. Whatever the situation was, there were all of these different factors that contributed to the bankruptcy. And if they can learn from those mistakes and change them, they can try again and create a successful business. Those are other thoughts that someone could legitimately have. The fact, the hard cold fact, is simply that the business went bankrupt. What someone does with that information is based 100% on the way that they think about it. And so the person who is willing to look at that situation and think about what they could learn from it, what they could do better next time, how they could make it successful the next time around, that person is going to be a lot more likely to create a successful business. Someone else looking at it and saying, okay, I went bankrupt, I failed, done. I'm going to have to let go of my dream of owning my own business and go back to working for someone else and clocking in and living by somebody else's rules because I failed. I therefore cannot run a business. I'm not equipped to do that. I'm not smart enough. I'm not good enough. I'm not whatever enough. Then they completely give up that opportunity to run their own business, strictly based on the way that they're thinking about it. And I'm not saying that if you think about it differently, that automatically means it's going to be easy. I'm not saying that at all. But if you close the door on it completely, then there's no chance at all that it's ever going to work because you're not even going to try. So keeping the door of possibility open allows that opportunity to figure out what you did wrong the first time and try again if that's what you really want to do. Thomas Edison said that I didn't fail 1,000 times, because by the way, it took him, I didn't know this until recently, it took him 1,000 tries to get the light bulb to work. So after he was successful, he said, I didn't fail 1,000 times. The light bulb was an invention with 1,000 steps. Imagine where would we be if Thomas Edison had given up after the first 10 or 20 times. I would like to think somebody else would have invented the light bulb, but who knows how much longer it would have taken them. So he didn't give up. He kept trying. He knew that he had the right idea. It was just a matter of figuring out how it would work. And he kept going until he was able to do that. So my question to you is, what could you do if you believed in yourself enough to make mistakes, even big ones, and learn from them? Where in your life do you have something that you want to do or that you'd like to change, but what's holding you back is this fear of failure, fear of making mistakes, fear of vulnerability, and feeling like you don't know what you're doing, you're out of your element? Where in your life are those places? Because we all have them. It could be that you have a business that you want to start. It could be that you have a promotion that you want to go for. It could be that you are looking for a partner and you don't want to get on a dating app. There are so many possibilities that could fall under this idea of fear of failure or could be affected by it. So I want you to think about what that is in your life and what might happen for you if you believed enough in yourself to open yourself up to the possibility of failure. Also to success, of course, because that's the flip side. And when we take risks, we might fail, but we might also succeed. So think about that and think about, and I really do believe that when we have the courage to fail, there have to be two beliefs in place. The first is a belief in whatever it is that we're trying to accomplish. So whether it's a business or a relationship or whatever it is. And then the second belief is the belief in ourselves that we can handle it. We can deal with the failure. We can handle the feelings of disappointment because, and I don't know if I made this clear before, but there will be feelings of disappointment and frustration and maybe anger when things don't go the way we want them to. Those are legitimate feelings, and you do have to allow yourself to feel them, but you don't let them stop you from going to the next step. So we always want to feel our feelings, acknowledge them, and feel them. One of the reasons that I love tapping so much is because tapping allows us to acknowledge our feelings and feel them and process them so that we can let them go and we can move forward. Sometimes you can completely let them go before you move forward. Other times you still have those feelings, but you kind of put them to the side and you keep moving forward anyway. I'm still afraid, I'm still upset, I'm still disappointed, but I'm going to take the next step anyway. So I want to share an experience with you that I had recently around failure that kind of inspired this little presentation. Recently, I did something in my business that didn't go well. It really didn't go well. I just it wasn't good. I wasn't on, I wasn't prepared, I fumbled my words, I was awkward, I was all over the place. What I was saying just was really hard to follow. It just did not go well. And I didn't feel good about it. I was kind of embarrassed about my performance. And my honestly, my first thought when I finished was that it was a dismal failure. So I was feeling pretty bad about myself. And I had a lot of drama in my mind about it, went through all of the thoughts of, can't believe I did that, what a jerk, I think I'm just done, I'm never doing that again, so embarrassed, what are people going to think, all of those things. And I let myself feel them, and I kind of thought I was going to stop there, but because I'm, more aware of allowing my thoughts and feelings and then thinking about how to shift them, I was able to take a step back and think about it more objectively. And so I decided to do an evaluation on what I had done and the whole shebang, because my goal is growth. I'm not looking for perfection, but I do want to get better. And the only way you get better is by practicing and by looking at what you are doing and what you're doing well, and then what you're not doing so well, um, so that you can make necessary changes and then move forward. And hopefully the next time it goes better. Might not be amazing, but hopefully better. Maybe not, but you keep trying and you keep trying to figure out where the problems are. So I always start my evaluations with what went well, because our natural instinct is to focus on everything that went wrong. And so by starting with the positive, we force ourselves to find something positive. And there is always something positive. It may just be that you showed up. It may be that you showed up and you put yourself out there. But that's a lot. That's a lot more than a lot of other people. So you want to own that and you want to celebrate that. And then you want to look at the things that didn't go so well and think about what you want to do differently. So I looked at what worked. And for me, in that situation, what worked was I kept my commitment to myself and my clients. I showed up. I was there. I'm committed to getting better, and I took the time to do the evaluation. So all of those things were wins as far as I was concerned, and it helped me feel better about what I had done, when I thought about the fact that I did have some wins. So what didn't work? I was off. I rambled. I didn't have a really cohesive theme to what I was talking about. I wasn't really sure what I wanted to say, so what I said was really difficult to follow. Um, so that is what didn't work. And so then what I'm going to do differently next time is to be more prepared, to have an outline that I can use um, as I go, that I have thought through and practiced and really kind of considered, like, does this make sense? Is it easy to follow? Will people understand what I'm trying to say? So I took all of that information and I created a plan for myself. And as part of that, I decided that I wasn't going to make that experience a failure. I wasn't going to make it mean anything about me other than I have a lot of room to get better. And I've decided that I'm willing to learn. I'm willing to make mistakes over and over again and figure out what I'm doing wrong so that I can get better. I'm also willing to feel the awkwardness and the embarrassment if it doesn't go well. And just know that those feelings are not going to kill me. I'm not going to fall apart. I can move through them and I can keep going even if I still feel them, because it's more important to me to get better at what I'm doing and build my business and be there for my clients than for me to stay stuck in this fear of, what I might be doing wrong or what other people might be thinking. Um, so allowing ourselves to fail or find out what isn't working means making it not mean something about us. And because we think that if something didn't go as planned, it's somehow our fault, or we messed up in some way, or we should have gotten it right the first time. And really, all that it means is that we tried, we made some mistakes, we maybe didn't think things through as well as we could have. So maybe that's something that we actually already know how to do, and we just, for whatever reason, didn't do it in that particular situation, which was my situation. Or we tried something, it was the first time we did it, or one of the first times we did it, we did what we thought was going to work and didn't work because we didn't know any better. So then the next time we know better, we do better. And again, we still might not know enough to make it fully successful, but hopefully we know enough to make it a little bit better. So I want you to think about somebody that you know that is really successful. And you can define success however you would like, because I think that that is something that differs, from person to person. But find someone that you see as being very successful. And if you know them personally, you can ask them this. And if it's somebody, like a celebrity or something, see if you can, do some research and read some interviews with them and find out how they got there. How many times did they fail to get there? Because I can guarantee you that they probably failed a lot. And if they didn't fail a lot, then they are not living up to their true potential. They haven't pushed themselves completely out of their comfort zone. Because really, the difference between people that are highly successful and people who are less successful, so those who are highly successful are more willing to fail. They fail, they pick themselves up, they dust themselves off, and they move forward. I have a client who worked in the show business industry, and she was not the person, she was behind the scenes. And one of the things that she said was the thing that struck her the most about particularly the people in front of the camera was that they just, nothing fazed them. If they failed, they just got up, they dusted themselves off, and they went on to the next thing, and they just left everything behind them. And that's what we need to do as well. It doesn't matter. The only thing you want to take with you are the lessons, nothing else. Don't take the bad feelings or the embarrassment or the feeling that it can't be done. You leave that behind. You take what you learn and you move forward. And then the second piece of having the courage to fail is that we have to stop worrying about what other people think. They're going to think whatever they're going to think. And there's really nothing that we can do about what other people think. You could do cartwheels and someone may still think something negative about you, and there's nothing you can do to change it. What's really important is what we think. What do you believe is possible? What do you believe that you can do? And how are you learning from your mistakes? That is what is important. Doesn't matter what anyone else thinks. If they're not supporting you, then let it go. Whether it's your sister or your best friend or your spouse or your mom, if they're not fully supporting you, or maybe they have some constructive ideas, but if there's a lot of negativity coming at you from other people, let that go and focus on what you believe to be true and figure out how you're going to make it work for yourself. And you just go one step at a time. It doesn't have to be an overnight sensation, and you will make mistakes. It's going to take time, and that's okay. You're moving forward. So, progress, not perfection, is what we're striving for, and take it one day at a time. Thank you so much for listening. Have a wonderful day, and I will see you soon.